Good morning. Once more, this is Norma Cowie for Wednesday's Norma Talks. Today, I'm going to talk about a topic I know I have visited before, but we can always visit things again. So today is the day for this topic, and that is about acceptance. Acceptance, I have found, is probably one of the hardest things that we have to deal with because we always want things to be our way. We always want things to turn out exactly as we want them to. We have all these things that work, and we really want them to be the way we want. Now, as a tarot reader for many years, oh, by the way, today, which is the 12th of May, is I arrived in Vancouver, Canada for the very, very first time as a tender 18-year-old in 1963. Just thought I'd mention that. So I've been a Canadian now for a long time. But anyway, to accept this is my homeland. This is not my original home because I feel that's home as well, but also a sense of where we're going and what we're doing and how it is. So the allowance of that. So the acceptance is very, very important when we look at that. Now, as you know, being a tarot reader, as I started to say when I suddenly remembered it's time I was actually here, I wanted to show them what I consider the main symbol around acceptance, and that is the Hanged Man. Because if you're hanging upside down like that and you've got a smile on your face with a nimbus around your head, then you certainly are accepting the circumstances. To me, that is a straight out acceptance. But there's another component here that I want to share with you. This is number 3 of the higher arcana, our Empress, the love, the whole bloom of life, the beingness of everything. And as far as I'm concerned, that is the fabric of this planet that we live on. Now, if you take number 12, that's 1 and 2 equals 3. So this is the higher order of the Empress. And so that was when many years ago when I was looking at patterns and how patterns in life worked and how my clients were showing certain patterns and things, I began to make the realization that love within itself is also about acceptance and forgiveness. And the Hanged Man was a large part of that, but there's also another aspect to this. And that is this wonderful symbol, judgment. There's a whole acceptance quality in this particular symbol. Yes, we've got Gabriel blowing his horn, and yes, we've got people arriving out of coffins and things like that. But what is it they are accepting? They are or rejoicing or welcoming. And that is that whole element of love that is within the planet. And so therefore there is an acceptance. Now over the years, I've graduated to doing a lot of transformation work. And in the transformation work, when we're clearing programming, when we're clearing beliefs and attitudes, judgments that we have assimilated, not only in this life, but other lives, then what we find is we need to allow love in, the universal love, into aspects of ourselves. Now, sometimes when people begin to do this work, they find it very difficult because they have to let go of their patterns of being. They have to let go of who they are. They have to let go of what has been driving their lives, but they come to see me because they don't like where their life is, or they don't like where they've ended up. And so it's a matter of being able to take that framework that their soul has worked on for so long and bring in the universal love force so that they feel a whole sense of being and doing and awareness. And that I got a lot of that through reading the tarot. And I have a couple of other symbols I wanted to show actually. Now, according to my technique as I read, the court cards are attitudes. They're our habits. Attitudes are our habits. This is how we respond without thinking. We just do it. And this one is the Queen of Pentacles. And as she sits there, she's very absorbed in her pentacle. But look at this roses. Roses are what we desire. And there's no evidence of roses below. So it's not like she's aspiring that, but it's like she's curbed in. We could also say similar restriction for the Nine of Pentacles, but I wanted to just use the Queen because it's the attitude. And this is another acceptance symbol. So in a sense, we have, I don't really call the Empress an acceptance symbol. It's part of it, but mostly it's about the loving element. But the Hanged Man, Judgment, and the Queen of Pentacles most definitely deal with acceptance. Now, there's one other little card I want to point out too, and that is the Four of Cups. Now, you might say, what on earth? How do you find acceptance in here? Gentleman's got his legs crossed, his arms crossed. He's looking at 3 cups. Now, if you know the pattern of the cup symbology, the symbols, these 3 symbols before are being held very high with 3 wonderful maidens dancing around in celebration. So here they are now, and he's still caught up in all that. But there's this. Something else is being offered. And incidentally, I had that in my own personal reading this morning. Something being offered, but we're not looking at it. Oh, we may not know it's coming, but the thing is to be open to receiving, to accepting what is going to come into the life, to accept the newness, to accept the information, to accept the awareness of different things that are going on. As I mentioned earlier, acceptance is hard for us because we really like, mostly anyway, what's happening, where we are, what's going on, what's taking place. And now all of a sudden, life switches and changes. And we have to adapt. But how do we adapt if we don't accept? How do we make changes if we don't accept? How do we grow? For those of us involved in spiritual, philosophical growing, understanding, if we don't accept first where we're at, because until we accept 100% where we're at, we are not ever going to shift anything. And there lies the issue for the majority of people, the acceptance of 100%. Now, I've been in relationships, I've been in situations where I've accepted 98% or even 90% or even less. But I found that until I accepted the situation exactly as it is, 100%, I did not make any change at all because I kept hoping, wishing, praying that what I wanted would happen. And guess what? It didn't. And so consequently, I found I needed to go to 100% acceptance that this situation, whatever it was not going to change. Then what the result was, it left me free to make a decision about what I wanted to do about it. Accept it totally, because sometimes you can't change things. People die. People move away. Pets. I have got someone now who's grieving over a beloved pet dying. All of these things about loss, and those we just have to accept because this is the way it is. And eventually we kind of get back onto an even keel. But I'm talking about situations in life, jobs, relationships in particular. This is big on, big with, I should say. Now, how come it has to be 100%? Because as I said, hope, wish, pray, it's going to be different. Now, I'm not against praying. I mean, really, but it's like what you may see in the prayer or through prayer is clarity to accept 100%. People often leave out that step because it's something we don't necessarily want to do. But it is freeing to be able to accept things as they are and then be able to decide what you want to do about it. Do you want to move left, right, stay put? What do you want to do? So acceptance has 2 parts. The part where, say, as in grief, you need to accept that this is it and deal with your grief. Or the situation, you accept 100% and can decide the action that you want to do. So that brings us into action, and I'm going to talk a little bit about time. And not that I didn't know I was going to go there, and I don't have symbols in front of me here to depict time, but I'm thinking primarily of the death symbol. And I don't know where that is in my deck. Here it is, would you believe, right near the top. Time. Death is really rebirth. Death is the leaving of the old. And some of the symbology I love in this, and yes, I realize that this is the fight. The king has lost his crown. Here is the priest, the maiden, and the child, sort of acknowledging the white horse walking through. His red. So here is and another symbol is like kind of like the red banner or the red feather of truth and things that kind of limping. When we have a battle in life, when we have a situation that we do not want to accept, or maybe we have accepted and we go through the fight of it, we're worn out. And yet we must proceed step by step ahead. Now, the one thing I want to point out here, and this is where the time comes in. This is why I love this particular deck, because it has a background and you can sense time. He's on a journey. The boats are all on the river are traveling in the same direction. This is a really good hint that you're on the right path. And then there's a pathway that leads up to those two pillars way in the background. You may not be able to see it, and the sun, meaning you're heading in the right direction. You're moving in the right direction. And that's what we need to know is where are we heading and where are we going and what are we doing? What is our plan? Some plans don't happen overnight. They just don't. And sometimes we get discouraged. Are we ever going to get to where we want to go? Is it ever going to get better? All of those thoughts that run through our mind. The key, though, is to recognize if you make a decision about something, is to keep going. Movement is really, really important. Not to give up, not to stop, but to continue traveling in the direction that you want to do. So that is the thing to recognize when you're looking at your life and when you're looking at some things that you have to accept. And with a lot of the restrictions and things going on these days, there is a lot that we've had to accept and adapt to. And the key here is for you to decide how you want to handle it. Are you going to be depressed? Are you going to find other avenues to express yourself? I just had an email from a person I've worked with through being interviewed by, actually, for several years, many years, and that she had sort of just let everything go for a while, and now she's come up with a brand new website. She's creating all sorts of art things that are out there, just a whole new avenue of life. She's taken a difficult time period and turned it into being something very beautiful and very, very fulfilling for herself. We have those opportunities, but I'll just say to you, that came because she accepted that she was no longer really fulfilled or happy where she was. She took a little time, but as she accepted that, made the decision, I'm going to go and do something I love, and then created that, and now it's got expression. And so that is open to all of us. I'm so fortunate. I love my work. I love what I do in working with people and speaking and teaching. I've always loved it. Now, so there's still things I need to change from time to time. I had to change from teaching one-to-one through Zoom, and that's been a big learning curve, believe me. But at the same point, it's still expressing the knowledge, the awareness, the love, all those attributes, the best I can do it. So I want you to think about your lives. I want you to think, what is it that you're needing to accept? Now, I do need to make a point. I'm just being reminded in my mind to make a point, because I've run into this a lot in readings. You may work at a job that you don't particularly like, but the money that the job pays you, you need to support yourself and or your family. So you move into gratitude. you move into gratitude for that, and you begin to put your emphasis on outside the job where you get joy. You must have joy in your life. So if you've got something that's really difficult, you'll find if you give the attitude of gratitude, be grateful every day and super grateful when that money is deposited in your bank or you have a check in your hand or however it shows up, is that your attitude will begin to change because you can take that money and work it out that you can use it for more for your enjoyment. So in other words, you're accepting and then you're deciding, okay, this is what I'm needing to do, but I can do this to give myself pleasure, to give myself joy, and it could be the family, it could be whatever. I know I've had to do that in my life, and many, many others do too. But the attitude of gratitude is often forgotten, and the key is not to forget it. To remember, be grateful, because more will come. More opportunities will come as the Four of Cups shows, something arriving. More will come to enhance your life. And so on that note, I really want to thank you for listening. And remember, I thank you, really thank you for the subscriptions, for the likes, for the comments. I don't always get to the comments right away, I understand, but I really appreciate them. And also remember, if you want to contact me, you can contact me through my website, normacowie.com. So blessings for this week. I'll be back on Sunday for my Sunday thought. Thank you.